Hello and welcome to the Hindustan Times Leadership Studio. This is us from the sidelines of the HT Leadership Summit in New Delhi. And I have the pleasure to be joined by Prashant Pitti, co-founder of Ease My Trip. Prashant, thanks for taking the time and speaking to us. Now, the theme that we have been discussing at the summit is empowering and envisioning the future. Now, of course, as a travel website, COVID was a very a bolt out of the blue, right? Travel completely had to come to a halt. So whether it's flights or the different modes of travel that you do on the platform, as well as hotels, the hospitality sector, everything saw a serious decline. But then came revenge travel and everything that we
still continues to, but yeah.
Right, so there you are. And of course, there are various categories within travel. There is business travel also. So just give me a broad overview of how you see these various categories emerging out of COVID, now that we are in fact out of COVID.
We surely are.
In many, many ways. Yeah. And going forward, what do you think the future of travel is going to look like?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here. At Ease My Trip, we are a growing organization. Now we are the second largest travel portal in India. As you rightly said, that COVID was a huge bolt in the entire business. I think there was no other industry which was as severely impacted as travel was. In the first wave of lockdown, almost for the 2 months, there was practically no business. And now, as again you rightly said, that we are out of COVID. That's what the statistics and the data shows us. In fact, yesterday only we released our quarterly results, and the last quarter we did business of almost 2,000 crores, which is more than double of what we did pre-pandemic. So this will give you an insight of how great the business is. And I strongly believe that there is no such term as revenge travel anymore, because it's normalized.
Right.
This is the part and the parcel of the life. I think what COVID has made us realize is the life is so fragile, and people have finally started to live their lives. And to live their lives practically means to travel a lot. And this is how I see the world as you mentioned about the business travel. Our business class travel as a percentage has almost gone up 2.5 times pre-pandemic number. So that would also give you some insight that people are actually spending on travel. Same goes for 4-star and 5-star bookings. The numbers have tripled up almost as a percentage of what was happening before versus what is happening right now. So overall, I think there's a very, very strong sentiment towards travel, rightly so, and we are looking forward to cater to the future.
So interestingly, you say that revenge travel doesn't really exist anymore because it's just the way the world is working now. Correct. And people are realizing that in the short lives we have, we might as well travel more. But given that you are doing these numbers right now, double or more than double of your pre-pandemic peaks, do you think that there is a case that this trend will also sustain at these elevated levels? So,
as I said, that we are a growing company. For our competitors and the industry, it's not that they are also at the double their numbers.
Correct.
Right? Our competitors are usually around the same size.
So, give me an industry trend.
Industries are the same numbers. Industry is the same number as pre-pandemic. We are gaining the market share, and that's why we have developed our numbers. So that is why. For us, I do not see this as a peak. For us, this is how we see as a sustained value of the business.
So sure, as your platform scales, of course, you will scale many more peaks. But speaking of the industry at large, as we are seeing, a lot of the countries, and it's been a while that countries have opened up their borders. So even international travel has resumed in a big way. But a lot of
it has not actually. Okay. What has happened was that, of course, the international borders opened up around 27th of March, right? But then there were a lot of teething issues to restart. In fact, for the entire quarter, or the first quarter, fiscal quarter of FY23, we did not see a lot of international travel, not because there was less demand, it's just that there were too many issues in getting the visa done. A lot of people wanted to travel, but visa was almost unattainable. And because of this, a lot of people had a lot of long queues. I don't know if you have experienced that or not, but people still are actually in waiting to get their visas. I believe that the peak of international tourism probably is going to come from next quarter onwards, when things are going to substantially cool down, at least in terms of waiting for the visa. So the demand for the demand for international travel, I think there's a huge demand, but it hasn't peaked yet.
Interesting. So you do see that the visa backlogs and that will start to ease next quarter on?
Yes, that's what I anticipate.
Right. Staying with the point of international travel, we did see that a lot of this did move to domestic markets, right? And
That
there
is
were
correct.
some top destinations that emerged. Speak to me a little bit about that. And does that traction still continue?
So I think it is definitely true to say that Indians have started exploring a lot more India than what we were experiencing before. Earlier, for us, for upper middle class family, they would usually think about taking one international vacation, but because of the pandemic, they probably took two Indian travel vacation, right? And a lot of new places came about in this entire exploring journey. I myself have explored a couple of new places which I haven't heard about. For example, there's a small village in Rajasthan called as Jawai. Now, this place is fascinatingly as beautiful as Kenya is, the wildlife of the Kenya. In this place, there are almost about 100, leopards which are roaming free, and there are about 300 villagers who are living, and they have learned to live together in a very cohabited manner. And it's a beautiful place out there. You can see leopards on the mountain top, and there's nothing between you both, and nobody's hunting each other.
So you see your customers gravitate towards these
Absolutely,
experiences.
there are lots of unheard of places which have recently come about in India, and I think it's great for the country's GDP.
I mean, if you had to translate this into numbers, what does the data show us in terms of where Indians are currently traveling? And again, some of the lesser known, quieter places that you mentioned that people were perhaps going to a lot more during COVID. Has that also stuck, or are we back to our city prowls?
See, mostly it is city prowls. The kind of places which I'm talking about, be it Jawai or Dwaki in Meghalaya or other places, these are still relatively less explored. They are, I believe, it'll probably take a decade for them to become mainstream destinations. The usual routes are Goa, Udaipur, all these touristy places, which are coming in really good numbers now.
Right. Let's talk about airfares. And of course, I mean, I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but what is reflecting in airfare trends right now? And that, of course, will determine, some bit of whether this, pickup in travel that we see and how fast that will happen, right?
See, of course, the regular complaint is why the airfares are so high. And just wanted to clarify, it's not in the hands of OTAs like us. They usually come from the airline side. I believe the reason why the numbers are slightly higher compared to what we saw as a pre-pandemic numbers is basically the demand has come back to the originality, right? But the number of aircrafts are still lesser. I think we are about 80 to 85% of what the number of flights were before. So hence the occupancy has increased dramatically, and I believe it's a part of efficiency play which airlines are playing, and rightly so. They have also gone through the tough times for the 2 years. We must understand how difficult it must have been for them to run their organization during the COVID times. So I think this is the time for us to basically contribute.
But from where you are, from your perspective, do you see that this upward trajectory in fares will continue? Because of course, it will take some time to operationalize those other aircraft.
It is normalizing as we speak already. The numbers have come back. I mean, of course, now the peak season is coming, so the numbers might go up by here and there. Otherwise, as a trend, the numbers are only normalizing.
Okay. Again, if you could translate that into numbers, what sort of a normalization are you seeing already? And
the numbers have already come down by 15 to 20% in last couple of months, especially after Diwali. The numbers have decreased dramatically.
And is that the normal level?
This seems like a normal number to me.
Right. Now staying with the theme that we have, just taking a peek into the future, how do you see platforms like yourselves also playing a role in how people travel? Of course, there is the convenience aspect to, just being able to book, your entire holiday on one platform. How do you see the competitive landscape in countries like India evolve for platforms like yourselves? What are some of the challenges in the current environment? And speak to me a little bit also about your customer base, any interesting trends or insights there?
Sure. I mean, I'm glad you touched upon the convenience part. EaseMyTrip is the second largest travel portal, and we grew primarily via word of mouth for the reason that we don't charge convenience fees. That is the biggest USP of EaseMyTrip. Now, the USP is not that we don't charge convenience fees. USP is that we can afford to not to charge convenience fees because of our cost structures. Even without charging convenience fees, we are the only OTA which is profitable. So the way we have built our operations, our team, our automation is helping the company grow even without charging convenience fees. And since there is no convenience fees, customers usually flock to EaseMyTrip because the prices are cheaper. So that's the kind of business model which we have built. I believe that OTA is a necessary, it's part of the system now. And I'll actually explain why is that the case. See, if you order a food from Swiggy or Zomato, you can easily cancel without paying any penalties. But while you're booking your flight ticket, if you make a mistake, let's say instead of 22nd of October, you choose 22nd of November. Or instead of writing Miss Aisha, you by mistake write Mr. Aisha, right? At the time of the booking, you'll have to pay penalty. You'll have to pay the entire GMV as a cancellation charges to the airlines. So hence, the users want to be habitual to one particular portal and then use that often rather than go to 7 different websites or 7 different airlines, because the cost of making a mistake is very high in this case. And because of which, there is a habituality which happens. And because of which, at least on EaseMyTrip, we see a very strong stickiness. In fact, for the last year, for all the tickets which were booked on EaseMyTrip, 93% of the tickets were booked by our past users. So this is how stickiness is.
What would the industry number be?
We don't have that number. I don't think so. Our competitors give that number. We believe that our numbers are very decently high as a 93% repeat transaction rate. We wouldn't know about the industry, but this is primarily one of the reasons why EaseMyTrip is growing profitably even without taking any venture money. We grew bootstrap, never took anybody's capital, and we grew at a very, starting from a very humble beginning.
And the no convenience fee bit is not a marketing spend for you. You'll never charge convenience fee.
We don't charge convenience fees, except if you're using a discount coupon. If you're using a discount coupon, then there's a convenience fee. If you're not using a discount coupon, then there's no convenience fee as EaseMyTrip. We have kept our marketing budgets extremely low, and we have let people spread the word of mouth. In fact, one small hack is that we do not advertise too much about that we don't charge convenience fees. The reason we have understood is that if we speak less about it, we are allowing people to talk more and hence spread the word more.
And get surprised.
Get surprised.
Right. Before we wrap things up, what is the one customer profile on your website that you see actually is aiding, your volumes more? Demographically speaking, who's traveling the most at this point in time? How are different, customers and travelers at different ages, different geographies behaving? So,
by the virtue of being second largest, I do not think that there is huge difference between what our customer base is and what the generic customer base is in India. It's pretty much the same as what we are spread all across. EaseMyTrip is used across the length and breadth of India by almost everybody. However, I do tend to see that we have slightly more leisure travel people rather than corporate travel. That is one thing which I've observed, that people who are basically booking for themselves rather than their companies are booking for them. And because that is when they care so much more about the convenience fees, right? So that is one thing which we have observed, but otherwise it's pretty much the same all across.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
Thank you.